Hello, Cancer, and welcome to Metamorphosis, your 2021 autumn reading from Planet Waves. My name's Eric Francis, your astrologer for the next half hour or so here with some hopefully useful information about your astrology. As you know from much that I've said previously and also the introductory half-hour video, the central question of the astrology of our moment and the central question of the times that we're living in happen to be exactly in parallel to one another, and that is the relationship of the individual to the group, and it is the relationship of individual values to group values. What is important to you, supposedly to what is important to other people. And this is, I think, at the center of all the contention and the controversy of the times that we are in, wherein we are told we are doing so many other things for other people, and then also that this is the ushering in of the new golden communist age that we are hearing so much hogwash about. And the way that this is being sold is coercion, and the net effect is that people's individual values and individual choices are being made to seem less important than the values of some collective that nobody actually knows who defined it, who's got the membership list, or who wrote the rules. And I lead off with this crucial theme right now because the very distinction of the astrology charts for Cancer is that where this struggle of the individual versus the collective is being waged in the sign Aquarius. That's here. Cancer's here. Aquarius is in the eighth place. And so the eighth place is it's like the entrance portal into the chart where the in-laws show up, right? The eighth house is the house of death, dowry, and the substance of the bride. And so what that means is that it is the house of inheritances, it is the house of legacies, and most importantly, it's where other people, other people's affairs, other people's money, and other people's relatives, and by extension of all that, other people's agendas enter your life. That is where they come in. I happen to have Cancer rising in my chart, and I have seen the profound impact of planetary transits through the sign Aquarius. I have the moon there, and it is undeniable that the eighth house is where it is this huge doorway in the chart and in our lives where extrinsic influences enter, and it happens you have Aquarius there. And one thing that says about you, or at least describes about you, is Aquarians like to take care of people. Yes, Cancerians, they can be self-centered. This is a true thing about Cancerians, but because of the placement of Aquarius in your chart, in the eighth place, it is saying that you have a natural sense of how we're all in this together, of how we are all essentially part of the same thing, because you experience this in a direct and visceral way. And one of the interesting things about having Aquarius in the eighth, which is not exactly a public house, right? The discussions of the eighth house include things whispered between a man and his father-in-law, the conversations that take place in the safety deposit box room in the bank, where you and your grandmother are looking at the contents of the safety deposit box and the will and the gold coins from the Depression and all of this stuff. This is not supposed to be public domain. This is not Yankee Stadium. This is not a talk radio show. But when you have Aquarius there, you can feel like you have absolutely no privacy whatsoever. That is an interesting thing to have this influence in the eighth, is that there is inherently a populous influence in a place that is reserved for pillow talk, essentially, and in the true style of the digital era, all that is private is being blown out into the public. And one of the real crime scenes of the digital era is the sign Aquarius. The other is the sign Aries. We're going to get there in a second, because that is where we find the antithesis to all of this claiming of authority over you. Why, you might ask, why are so many people interested in you? Why are so many people interested in whether you do something? You, little personal, private, you living your life. Maybe you're really important. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to Bruce Springsteen or somebody, but probably not. I don't think he likes me anymore. Why are so many people interested in what you do with your body? And they're about to get more interested, because Roe versus Wade seems to me is about to get flushed down the toilet. Why? And everyone's got this going on, but you really deserve an answer to this question. Why are so many people interested in what you do with your body, and you, not whether you drive drunk or serve toxic clams to 1,000 people in a restaurant, just the private choices that you make. It's almost like people caring about what color underwear you wear. If you were getting government directives that you were supposed to only wear green underwear, would you think that was a little bit strange? So everyone's experiencing this, but you have a very distinctive view, because you are looking right at, you are directly experiencing what percolates in through the sign Aquarius. It's like, if these unusual requirements being made of private people are in some way unusual, you're the person to see it. And Aquarius often represents the borderline, the boundary of where you end and where other people begin. And this is a crucial question of the eighth house, where human lives are bought and sold. Right? Because the central underlying theme of the eighth house is the sale of the bride. It's bride price, it's dowry, its inheritance. It's the question of, does this potential suitor or groom have enough money to be worth the bride to marry? It's the groom in the old days, probably still exists now in the old days. Is this woman rich enough to be worth marrying? Death, dowry, and the substance of the bride. Not her rack. Her daddy's bank book. And this has direct impact on you now. And you've got Saturn and Jupiter moving through this angle of your chart. And these are the friendlier planets. These are the warm-up. This is the opening salvo of what is going to be a 20-year phase from essentially 2023 way out to 2044 of Pluto in Aquarius. And the thing to know about the eighth house is that we are susceptible to what happens in the eighth house. We are subject to the movements, whatever those might be, legalistic or family machinations or some such thing, is that we are subject to what happens. In a certain way, the eighth house has a kind of its own law of the sea, where there's a kind of a private law enacted. But the thing is, this is now blown out into this massive public drama where everyone's worried about whether you wear green underwear. Okay, so the thing here is to mind this boundary and to be always asking the question of where I end and where you begin. This is the ultimate, one of two ultimate boundary questions, the other being the time boundary of death, and that's the eighth house too, especially Saturn ruled Aquarius, to be conscious of limits. And since death is the theme, to ask yourself, when is a death threat actually appropriate? You may think, death threat. Well, I'm telling you, there's been a lot of death threats issued in the past 18 months. The past 18 months have been one endless death threat, which continues to the present day. So the boundary questions of the eighth are, where do I end and you begin? And what's the true nature of this death threat? Like, what, and what's my green underwear got to do with any of it? Okay, so the antithesis to all of this shit being laid on us, all of these opening up letters in the mail that are saying, you must report for underwear inspection, is Chiron in Aries. Chiron in Aries pushes individuality. It pushes the quest for being, the quest for self-actualization. And this potentially grants you the strength to stand up to anything calling itself, hello, I'm the collective, I'm here to inspect your underwear, and further, something better, something more significant, which is your ability to take leadership in these fraught times in which we are living, in these very, very fraught times in which we are living. And my rationale for saying that is Aries is the 10th place from Cancer. So we start the chart with Cancer in the first, and then we go up to the 10th, and there you have Chiron. And that's Aries on the 10th, inherently, as a function of the chart for Cancer. You are a natural born leader. Not everyone is a natural born leader. Cancers are the kind of people who are like, okay, I got to do this. You show up at this meeting in this organization and it's in a complete shambles, and you're like, I got to fix this. This has got to make sense. There's no point in my being here. I'm wasting my time if things don't make sense. That's part of the leadership calling of having Aries on the 10th. Another part of the leadership calling is it's just simply a natural thing for you to do, whatever else may attend that, because you are likely to seek your identity through some form of leadership. Now, in classical astrology, Cancer is the sign of motherhood, and mothers come in all 12 shapes and sizes, and all 12 moon sign shapes and sizes. But in principle, part of the leadership of Aries on the 10th is the leadership of family leadership and the leadership of responsible parenting, and that concept extends into much else that's going on in society, and much of what's going on in society is extreme familial dysfunction. The unresolved material of millions of people being taken into society and creating this colossal society-wide vulnerability that leads to this overwhelming situation. Please tell me what to do. I'm confused. I'm scared. Big Daddy government, Pfizer, Moderna, tell me what to do to feel safe and feel better. This is not for you. This is not your way of doing things. Your way of doing things is, I have a plan. Anybody interested? Your way of doing things is, I run my life. I'm the editor-in-chief of my life. I don't need parents telling me what to do. I don't need the government telling me what to do. Get out of my fucking way. This is my life. I'm here to live. That's the true spirit of the sign Cancer. Because of, among other things, the power of Aries in your chart, and it is certainly beneficial to have Aquarius on the 8th, where you can see feel, hear, smell, recognize, and understand the nature of the public-private transaction. Now, meanwhile, with all this going on, you want to be paying attention to what's happening in your direct family. And I think that one of the utter tragic failings of the times in which we're living is not enough people asking why it is the government's job to tell us who can't come to Thanksgiving fucking dinner. Those who are policymakers were trying to do at last year's Thanksgiving. Who cannot come to Thanksgiving dinner? You should only have 6 people at Thanksgiving dinner. Look, in my fantasy world, if anyone can see that this is just like unhelpful and completely inappropriate and ridiculous, it's you. Okay, so what else have we got going on here? Chiron, long journey through the 10th house. And very notably, Chiron coming up on a conjunction to Eris, right? Chiron is, here's Eris, way out in the end of the 10th. And Chiron is moving along. And in 2025, not that next year it's going to be 2022. That's in less than 3 years from now. Chiron and Eris are going to make a conjunction in your 10th house. You are being called to leadership on a very high level. And that could be actual leadership of 10,000 soldiers, or 100 journalists, or the PTA standing up to some ridiculous thing that the school board is doing. It could be a form of moral leadership. It is a form of leadership. You are being summoned. You are being tapped to take part in some advanced leadership training program as these years unfold, when we will need people who are natural born leaders, who understand the cultivation of trust and who understand the nature of the public-private contract. They are students of where I end and you begin. And this is the single most important question that we can be asking now. When Biden gets on TV and says, I'm coming for you, and when Cuomo gets on TV and says, we're going to knock on your door, we're coming for you. Really? Really? Now, there are the oil the shotgun types for that, but you don't need to oil the shotgun. You could just say, you're not coming for me. Come on, man. Go fucking make a law or some other thing. Just do something besides do this. All right, so let's talk about what's going on in Capricorn. Cancer rising, 7th house is Capricorn. This is relevant to all previous statements in this one-way conversation. If you write me a quick email, it'll be a 2-way conversation, and we'll be communicating. Cancer on the ascendant. Little stuff of a big nature going on here. But let's look at the 7th. The 7th is the world in which you live. The 7th is your environment. The 7th is the 7th is who and what you see. The 7th is who and what you see and what you experience when you look out at the world. And you have Capricorn here. And one interesting thing about having Capricorn on the 7th is that as other facets of your astrology suggest, including having Aquarius on the 8th, having Capricorn on the 7th means that you are actually in a direct relationship to society and its institutions. I mean, I would love to do a study to find out how many, if you took a survey of all of the town boards, planning boards, and school boards, and PTA boards in the world, would you find that a higher proportion of them were Cancerians than of any other sign? In my fantasy astrology world, you have it is natural to get involved type of thing going on in your chart. And in that angle, where it is natural to get involved, right? Because the 7th is where you get involved, right? This is where you meet the people you're going to make business partners, or you're going to marry, or who become enemies, or who you directly encounter in one-on-one encounters. Capricorn is there, and Capricorn is about the nature of the larger, deeper institutions of the society in which we live. It's the things that make society work, and or as may be the case, not work. And since 2008, Pluto has been there, and this has brought on wrenching changes to society. If we recall, it only seemed like about 20 minutes after Pluto got into Capricorn in 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis explodes into the bailout, the Great Recession, AIG, Bank of America being 15 minutes away from, complete Bank of America, 15 minutes away from bankruptcy. Predatory lending, massive corporations having all of their assets in complete shit, in complete garbage. Subprime loans and all this stuff. Well, the minute Pluto got into Capricorn, society changed fast. And the chances are that you experience that in some direct way and perhaps bore the brunt of it in some unusual way. But whether or not that happened, you had the direct line of sight to the events that were unfolding. The direct line of sight is crucial to have because it means that you're an umpire, quite potentially fair-minded, who can actually see the play as it's happening. And so you were a witness to that in some way, potentially direct participant or someone who experienced it. And there is a lot now going on in Capricorn. And it is sad to say that one of the things that you're able to see is the cruelty factor that is being inflicted on us, and not only the cruelty factor, but the codependency factor, the alcohol factor, the unresolved family mishigas factor, the way in which the culture is imposing its power on private people unfairly. You can see all this, and this is ramping up now. The presence of these three minor planets, which I pretty much write about in every reading I do for the sign Cancer: Pholus, family influence, 4 generations, related to alcohol, and inheritance of let's say, dysfunctional codependent karma. Quayar, very old family karma, going way, way, way back to the beginning. So say for example, I'm Sicilian, and I went to Sicily way back to the beginning, the point of origin, where our people are from. Like, that's Quayar. Like, where are our people from? What's the origin story? Well, I really got an eyeful of what my family was about by personally planting my feet on the ground in Sicily and watching vegetable markets and chefs screaming at me from inside of a restaurant because I didn't want to have bread with my dinner. Pane! No pane! Screaming. What's the equivalent in your life? How far, if you're Irish, what's the Irishness about you? Not the charming part of the Irishness entirely, but what's the thing okay, what are these people dealing with? When was the famine? Am I somehow still I'm Irish, am I dealing with the karma of the famine 150 years later? What the fuck? Do I still hate the Brits because they stole all of our food? So any nationality or any tribal identity can have this. This will work with your New Age tribe, family of choice type tribe, but mostly we're talking the story of your family of origin. And what I'm seeing in society, and I am a student of Wilhelm Reich, who explained this better than anyone, but all those 20th century philosophers got this, that the drama of the individual family, the dysfunction of the individual family, multiplied by all of the families, is the drama of the dysfunction of the society in which we live, and it is big. And Reich was clear that he called the family the miniature authoritarian state. That's what Reich called the family, the miniature authoritarian state. And the all the preparation of the miniature authoritarian state is on it serves two main purposes. One is to prepare people for the macro authoritarian state, for people to be good citizens and good Nazis and good whatever they're going to be, and to follow the rules and show up to work at 9 o'clock and do the job they don't necessarily want to do. And the other version of that is what Reich said was that the natural curiosity and sexuality of children is suppressed for the convenience of the parents. The parents don't want to deal with the fact that the children are intense and creative and wild and sexual and growing and curious and interested in life, whereas they've been deadened by their experiences and their parents. And so what is done to us is done to us for the convenience of the parents, and basically it amounts to that parent is going to make that kid feel dead for the convenience of the parents. And this is much of what goes on in society. It's much of the function of gossip. It's much of the function of things like the Me Too movement, to shut down the natural expressiveness by criminalizing all of it. Watch this happening right now. You have the second row seat right behind home plate. You're looking right at what's going on. You can see it. So number one, don't miss it. Number two, as Bob said, keep your eyes wide. The chance won't come again. This is your opportunity to experience maximum personal development and growth, and to fully actualize. And my sense of when you fully actualize is you are going to have a role that both surprises you and doesn't surprise you. You're going to have a role where you must take on actual responsibility for the karma of society. Now, speaking of karma, and speaking of families, and speaking of family dramas, and where this all interacts, right? Because this whole side of the chart is like where we meet others, and it's like you meet the husband or wife or whatever potential partner here, and then the in-laws show up here, and the eighth really has many of its origins in the fourth. The fourth is the fourth is it's the ancient house of fathers. It's about going all the way back to the essentially to the beginning of this particular branch of the family estate, and including tracing your genetic line even further back than that. And if you study, by the way, if you have your natal chart cast, follow the degree on your IC, and watch for things that happen either when a planet shows up on your IC, or when your IC shows up in another chart, like as the rising sign in the chart. That's just a side note for those who are studying astrology. The fourth is about security. It's about grounding. It's about the nature of the nature of the family estate as it protects or doesn't protect, as it shelters or fails to shelter your fourth. And you need a real measure of balance in order to feel safe. There's not that many people who are balanced. There are not that many families where there's any balance, and there's not that many families where people have done the spiritual work and the emotional work and the therapy work to make sure that they are capable of providing a sane environment for young people. That's what you need. The fact that you have Libra there suggests that it's possibly what you got. If you're not Cancer rising, still consider the idea, because the solar chart works. And now what's going on is that on the 8th and 9th of October, there's about to be a conjunction, a triple conjunction, which I've drawn in here, of the Sun, Mars, and retrograde Mercury in this house, which is going, is as T.S. Eliot said, leading to some overwhelming question. But do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. Check it out for yourself. Now, you're not going to be able to miss this. This may be, as of this recording, I'm recording on the 21st, before the Sun's entered Libra, before Mercury's gone retrograde. When we're all in the middle of that and it suddenly shows up, it's going to seem like it was really obvious. But you are your existence, your experience, your consciousness is leading to a question about the nature of your relationships as they were impacted by your family, and about the nature of your relationships as they are being impacted by this grand collective dysfunctional family known as society. And so while we're pondering why we're being told to show up for the inspection of the color of our underwear, right? Or if if you're not carrying your National Rifle Association card, you're not allowed to have dinner at Arby's. Like, wouldn't you think that was like a little strange? Okay, so this presents itself in a very, very bold way. And again, we're talking about the line where you end and others begin. And that line includes where you end and my private relationship to my wife or lover or girlfriend or husband or boyfriend or whatever it may be begins. Because all of this familial, the imposition of the in-laws on us is really designed to take over our private relationships. If it were not, there would not be a controversy about whether you were welcome at the Thanksgiving dinner table. And I pity people who don't see how horrific it is that others are attempting to get in between your relationship with you and your partner. This is infuriating to me. It is infuriating that people are trying to get between parents and children, between siblings, between husbands and wives, between adults and their elderly parents. And so I think the leadership calling that you have and the boundary that you are ultimately protecting is the boundary of your private inner being, the boundary of your private relationships, and the boundary known as who sits at your dinner table. You decide that. Your family decides that collectively on humane grounds. And should someone decide, wherever they may be, that this person is not welcome at your dinner table, that's up to you to intervene in that and to say, no, we welcome the family at my dinner table. We welcome the sick and the infirm and the people who are hurting and the people who have needs and whoever it might be, whatever it defines. We welcome our family at our family dinner table. So as a sign, Cancer rising, the sign of the family of man and the family of humanity and the family. You are a guardian of this. And we need your leadership. And that leadership is your metamorphosis. It's your trial by fire. It's your transformation into the fully expressed person that you know you are. All right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time and your trust. And I'll catch you over at a different sign. Bye for now.